What's going on, Dolphins? It is your boy Dillon, and I got a few updates for you, including a little bit to the MLB situation and what's going on there, but also, as training camp is opening up, which today is the 28th, which means all of the veterans are beginning to report today, which means that they will all start undergoing their COVID testing, etc., etc., etc. So it will not be surprising to see more people end up on the COVID list. The Dolphins have 3 players that have already ended up on the COVID reserve list, and it will not be surprising to see more. Unfortunately, that will be an unsurprising thing, but that is something to expect and to watch going forward. But as training camps are opening up, we are now actually starting to get a bunch of opt-outs. Actually, there were several opt-outs, and so we'll get into that as well. Let's go ahead and just real quick, let me give you the updates to the MLB situation, because that obviously indirectly affects the NFL. It's another sports league that is having to deal with the similar, challenges of opening up during a pandemic, and so far it's not going very well. So, and the NFL is trying to replicate some of the stuff that they're doing to not very much success at this point. But anyway, let's get into these details. So from CBS Sports, multiple sources did report on this, but from CBS Sports, MLB shuts down Marlins and Phillies, revises schedule for the NL East, AL East teams amid COVID-19 outbreak. So I'm reading this in part because already they are seeing massive changes. I mean, they've already, before their season is even begun, they had already instituted massive changes to the season, and now they are instituting even more changes mid-season, they barely started playing, right? They've only had a few days, and they've already had a pretty significant outbreak. The 2020 season is not even a week old, and already MLB has a COVID-19 crisis on its hands. As many as 17 members of the Miami Marlins, including 15 players, have tested positive in recent days. The outbreak forced Monday's and Tuesday's games in Miami and Philadelphia, where the Marlins played this past weekend, to be postponed. In an effort to minimize disruption to the season while containing the outbreak, MLB has revised the schedule to isolate the Marlins and Phillies for a period of time, the league announced Tuesday afternoon. Both clubs are currently undergoing additional testing following their series at Citizens Bank Park this past weekend. But how do people think that that's a feasible contingency plan? So like every time you get an outbreak on a team, you shut them down and take them out of the schedule to what? Then put them back in somewhere later down the way? Like, how does that, or do they just, do they get disqualified from the entire overall tournament? Like, what is, like, it's stupid and it's foolish, but whatever. Because they don't really care about that. Again, as I've said a million times, none of these people give a shit about the health and safety of the players, the coaches, the fans. Not really. And they don't care about the quality of the game. What they care about is making sure that the game exists to begin with, and that their revenue streams are not stunted or lost. Anyway, the health and safety protocols were designed with a challenging circumstance like the one facing the Marlins in mind, MLB said in a statement. The response outlined in the joint MLB-MLBPA operations manual was triggered immediately upon learning of the cluster of positive cases, including contact tracing and the quarantining and testing of all the identified close contacts. The Marlins personnel who tested positive remain in isolation and are receiving care. Okay, and that's great that you're responding, relatively appropriate. But it happened to begin with. How are you going to stop it from happening again to another team and another team and another team and another team? Okay, whatever, dude. You can't, but you think you can, or at least you perpetuate that you can, even though I'm pretty sure they realize they can't. They just don't care. Anyway, Miami's season has been halted until Monday, August 3rd, giving the club time to regroup and adjust their roster as necessary. MLB believes that it is most prudent to allow the Marlins time to focus on providing care for their players and planning their baseball operations for a resumption early next week, said the statement. The Phillies will be shut down until Friday. The Yankees and Orioles Orioles are bystanders in the outbreak. The Yankees were scheduled to play 4 games with the Phillies this week, 2 in Philadelphia and 2 in New York, while the Orioles were scheduled to play 4 games with the Marlins, 2 in Miami and 2 in Baltimore. The revised schedule has the Yankees and Orioles playing Wednesday and Thursday rather than sit idle. The Marlins were scheduled to play a 3-game series against the Nationals this weekend. The vast majority of Nationals players voted not to travel to Miami for safety reasons. Under the revised schedule, the Nationals will not play this weekend while the Marlins are on hiatus. Here, for the sake of laying it out, is the revised schedule. Anyway, don't need to go into all that. Just wanted to give you those updates because it is important, and it's just going to show and proving me right that they can't do anything about this. They can all they can do is respond, right? That's it. Because even like they can prepare and they can respond. They've prepared to some extent, not anywhere near close enough, any of these sports leagues, and they can respond, but there's literally only but so much response you can give. And like, I mean, anyway, you guys know how I feel. Let's go ahead and move on and get into the next thing. So like I said, there have been a rash of opt-outs already in the league, the NFL, including one of our AFC East rivals. But first, let's go ahead and get into this article right here. Reports Eagles Marquise Goodwin to sit out NFL season over COVID-19 concerns. So he's actually a pretty prominent player that's deciding to opt out of the 2020 season already, and we've just started getting things going. Philadelphia Eagles wide receiver Marquise Goodwin will opt out of the 2020 NFL season over health concerns amid the COVID-19 pandemic. Ian Rappaport of the NFL Network reported Goodwin's decision was related to the birth of his 5-month-old daughter. His wife previously had 3 miscarriages before the birth of their first child. The Eagles swapped 6th-round picks with the 49ers in exchange for Goodwin in April. As part of the deal, Goodwin restructured his contract for only $1.4 million for the 2020 season. He will receive a $150,000 stipend for sitting out over COVID concerns. More than 20 players have announced their intention to skip the 2020 season as camps are set to open across the NFL. The New England Patriots have been hit the hardest, with 6 players choosing to take the stipend rather than potentially risk catching the coronavirus. While the NFL and NFLPA reached collectively bargained safety protocols for the season, it is unclear whether they will work over the full season. The NFL is not bubbling their players like the NBA and NHL, which didn't work. Or hasn't worked out particularly great so far anyway. So the NHL seems to be doing, from what I can tell, seems to be doing better than the NBA, the MLB, and us, but see how long that lasts. They will be traveling through air and staying in hotels for road games like a normal season. Major League Baseball, which is similarly not employing a bubble, already had an outbreak over its opening weekend when 17 Miami Marlins players and staffers tested positive for the virus. Given the high contact nature of football, their players are at perhaps the highest risk of any major professional sport of an outbreak, which is absolutely factually correct. And to get to those players from the Patriots who have decided to opt out, because there are some pretty big names from their roster who are deciding to sit out the season. So let's go ahead and get into those details. Dante Hightower and Patrick Chung among 6 Patriots reported to opt out for the season. New England Patriots linebacker Dante Howard and safety Patrick Chung, offensive tackle Marcus Cannon, and running back Brandon Bolden have reportedly decided to opt out of the 2020 NFL season among the coronavirus pandemic. All of those players are huge for their roster. ESPN's Adam Schefter reported Hightower's decision and provided further information. Patriots 3-time Super Bowl champion and all-pro inside linebacker Dante Hightower is opting out of the 2020 season, league sources tell ESPN. Hightower is scheduled to make $8 million in base salary. He had a baby July 16th. So look, and these guys are making the right decision, because even though it's total bullshit that they have to then, lose out on, he has to lose out on what, $7 million, whatever, and only take $150,000 because the NFL wants to be exceptionally greedy, force the situation in which they have to make that choice to begin with, and then say, well, if you're going to make the smart choice, the reasonable choice, the logical choice, the one that's going to keep you and your family safe and not risk their lives, well, we're going to make you take an immense pay cut. We're going to force you to take a pay cut by saying you only get $150,000 instead of whatever your contract says. it's still the right choice, right? So even though that's garbage and that shouldn't be the case, it's, you know, it's still the right choice. Anyway, let's finish this. Chung informed ESPN's Mike Rice of his decision Tuesday. Karen Gurigian of the Boston Herald reported Monday that Cannon, the Pats' projected starter at right tackle, intends to inform the team of his decision after discussions with his family. Bolden joined the opt-out group Tuesday, per Rice. Hightower is coming off his second career Pro Bowl selection in 2019 after recording 71 total tackles, 5.5 sacks, 4 passes defended, and a fumble recovery across 15 appearances last season. He provided a statement to Ian Rappaport of NFL Network about his decision. A message from Patriots linebacker, yeah, I mean, whatever. He, you know, it's for obviously his family, his fiance, and his 2-week-old son, blah, blah, blah. The 30-year-old Tennessee native was a first-round pick of the Pats out of Alabama in 2012, and he's been part of their 3 Super Bowl winning teams during his career. In 2018, blah, 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 whatever. Anyway, so, let's see. Does it tell me? So it doesn't say. I'm not seeing anything about who else. Let's see. Oh, fullback Danny Vital and offensive lineman Najee Turan were the first 2 Patriots to announce they are opting out of the 2020 season. So those are the other 2 Patriots. So 6 in total, but 4 high profile. Dante Hightower, Patrick Chung, Marcus Cannon, and Brandon Bolden. That seriously hurts their team. So look, man, I mean, I've told you guys since the beginning, it's all just a fucking mess, and it's going to continue to get worse, and the season is going to get shut down eventually. I'm telling you, it's going to happen. It's going to happen. They should have just done it. They should have done it, and they should have just paid everybody. Anyway, there is one more thing that I want to, one more report that I want to get out to you, because it just came in. Let's see. So the NFL put this out. 21 players have tested positive for COVID-19 at camps so far, right? Just so far. We're still, right? All of the veterans are just now reporting today and just getting their fucking tests today, right? So that's going to take a few days before those results come in. Also, quarterbacks and injured players just reported on the 23rd. Dolphins rookies just reported on the 23rd. That's 5 days ago. So a lot of those tests are probably still just coming in. But anyway, players reporting to training camp are being tested for COVID-19 several times before they are allowed to enter team facilities, and Tuesday brought some information about how many of those tests have been positive thus far. The NFLPA announced that there have been 21 positive tests in the testing conducted as part of the training camp reporting process. Rookies, injured players, and quarterbacks were allowed to start reopening over the last week. Veterans from most teams began reporting to camp on Tuesday. The union did not announce the total number of tests were done overall, or whether there were any outstanding results from early tests. They did announce that a total of 107 players have tested positive over the course of the offseason. Players who test positive for COVID-19 will be placed on a reserve list until they are no longer experiencing symptoms and or receive multiple negative tests. Players exposed to an infected person will also go on that list, and the league will not announce the reason for any player's placement on the list. So, I mean, and there's obviously tons of, like, you know, hush-hushness going around. They're being like, you know, I don't know, dude, like, it's just, there's so much shadiness. I mean, they already obviously told us earlier on that they're going to manipulate the numbers by not including staff and only including players and blah, blah, blah. So, and they're, you know, they said in there that they're not going to give us reasonings as to why they're on the COVID-19 list. They could just come off. They could pull players off prematurely if they want. If they don't have to give us any information about why they're there or you know, the information about the individual player's, you know, status or whatever, well then, I mean, it could just spell even more disaster because they just want to rush guys back. Anyway, that's what I got for you guys. I hope you appreciate my perspective. If you do, make sure you hit the subscribe button, make sure you hit the like button, make sure you hit the bell if you want to get the alerts. Share my channel and videos with your friends and family. Leave your questions, comments, and concerns down in the comment section. And of course, as always, make sure you follow me on Twitter at Dillon Tartaro. And with that, I'm out. I'll see y'all soon. Fins up.